What up YouTube? Today we're going to be working on this second gen Ford Lightning. We're going to be replacing the battery. We're going to upgrade it to an excess power battery, and we're going to do some zero gauge runs, big 3 upgrade. This thing got a nice paint job recently done to it, so we're going to be doing the battery and then it's going to be getting the sound system done. So this is the battery that we're going to be removing or replacing actually with the excess power. And as you can see, we already had ran a zero gauge run to the body back there. But we're gonna pull this out, probably shorten, most likely shorten this cable, put some other battery terminals, which I'm about to show you guys, and then we're gonna be hopefully be able to do a run to the alternator, which is under the supercharger. And I'm gonna show you guys what we got for the cable right now. So for the cable, we're gonna be running the Sky High zero gauge OFC power cable, power wire, whatever you want to call it. Got the copper lugs with 3/8 hole. We got a couple more down here that we're gonna be installing. So we got the 5/16, the 3/8, and a couple of smaller copper lugs for the other cables. And then we have some of these Sky High heat shrinks that we're going to be using, and we're going to be wrapping everything with the braided loom or braided expandable sleeve. This will kind of look like this right here. So we have some more cable here just in case we need the thinner wire. We have the tin OFC copper. We have some 4 gauge OFC from Sky High as well. And then this truck does have a port, so that's going to be in a later video. We're going to have to get the box made and then build an amp rack and all that. But first we want to start with the battery, because this battery I think is giving out. It's been in the truck for a cool minute. So I'm going to show you the battery that we're going to be running now. So this is the battery that we just got from Excess Power Batteries. D6500. That's what this truck takes, and we ordered it with these brass terminals, which I'm not sure if we're gonna use them. I kind of doubt it. I think that's the part number 580. That's the battery right there. Comes with the warranty paper, some safety and instruction stuff, and some stickers. And these are the little bolts or screws that go on the terminals. So we're gonna hook up the battery to the charger. Meanwhile, we start removing the old battery. We got this charger from Walmart, Noco Genius, and this is an AGM and a lithium charger, and charges the regular batteries. And it also does 6 volts. That's what we've been working with lately. So we're gonna hook it up to the battery just to have it 100% fully charged. And that truck is gonna get a high output alternator. That'll be later on, because I think the supercharger is gonna come off for some work. So we're gonna we are going to just do the cable runs for now and the battery install. Whenever time comes for the supercharger to be removed, we'll have everything ready. Just throw the new alternator and we'll be able to hook everything back up and ready to go. So this is the battery hooked up, and it's set to AGM. The light is red, so once that light goes green, switch to lithium, turn it off, regular 2 volt, and AGM. We saw really good reviews on that charger, so that's why we picked that up. We're gonna leave the battery here for now, and I'm gonna show you guys the battery terminals. So these are what we got: the Il Customs 6 spot or 6 lug bolt down battery terminal. This is the side for the ground. It's black, and then the side for the positive, you can see it has the red lettering and the red positive on there. So that's what we're gonna use. It comes with the stainless steel bolts, and I'm gonna show you what those look like. So this is the one from the previous video, the Toyota pickup. We used the same, well, similar battery, the 2400, same battery terminals and copper lug, 0 gauge and all that. The only thing that I think we should get is some washers to fill in that battery terminal, because it's a little loose. Once this breaks loose a little bit, this thing will start moving around. So hopefully we can find a washer that fits in there just to center the bolt and be able to tie it down without it moving and stuff. So let's go over to the truck and start removing the cables. Now that we have the battery removed, we could remove this. We're not sure where exactly this ground goes, so I'm gonna have to get underneath the truck and find out where that ground is mounted to. And we might still reuse it from up here, just add the 0 gauge on top if we're not able to completely remove the cable, because it goes into this loom right here, which has a lot more cables in it. And also I think some of the power goes into this. You can see this power cable goes up here and it goes over to this starter solenoid, and also the alternator power goes to this. So we might just leave this alone and add to it. We'll add the run from here to the alternator. Just gotta figure out what size lug would fit for these two cables, so we could just leave this alone. All right, so we just got the battery off the charger. Now we got some washers from Home Depot, because look, I don't know if you guys can tell, but that bolt is super loose in there. So what we did, well, actually not Home Depot, we went to Lowe's and we got some of these 5/32 by 7/8 washers. The only thing is that the center hole has to be drilled out to like a quarter inch, I believe, and then the outside we have to hit it with the grinder just to shave it down just a little bit. Like, it sits on there nicely, but it's like it won't go in, so we have to shave it down just a little bit, just to make it go all the way in and center the bolt hole. So I'm gonna do one and then I'll show you guys, so we could toss the battery in the truck. Well, actually we have to hit the firewall with the wire wheel for the frame, for the body ground, and then toss the battery in there. So the first cable that we're gonna work on is the body ground, which goes here to the firewall, and it has a copper lug terminal for the 0 gauge with the 3/8 hole, and we're gonna switch that out to a 5/16 because that's the smallest one we have. This is the 3/8, and you can see how loose that bolt is in there. So with the 5/16, it's a lot small, well, it's a pretty big difference, so we're gonna switch that out. The one that goes to the battery, that one's fine. 3/8 is what we need for the battery side. So before we cut this off or cut it down, we're going to put the battery in here so we can mock it up and see how much length we need for that run. So let me throw the battery in here real quick. So before we throw the battery terminals on, I wanted to show you guys the difference in the size See the washer on the inside of that terminal. So that's why we did that. So I'm just gonna put the ground side on for now. We don't want anything touching the power side. Alright, so we got one cable on here. This was the original plan, I guess you could say, to run this ground here and then another ground to the chassis and whatever, but it's a little tight because of all these cables. It's gonna be a little more tight with a couple of runs of 0 gauge. So I think we're gonna start by using these 3 bolts right here. So I believe this one is gonna go to the alternator, or as close as possible to the alternator. This one's gonna go to the chassis, and this one's gonna go to the body. And then the factory ground, hopefully we're able to use it and bolt it down to this bolt right here. So I'm gonna do this bolt first to the body. It's gonna come down, maybe loop back up onto the firewall. Let me finish that one and then I'll put you guys back on. Okay, so I actually grabbed a couple of the 0 gauge that we had in our scrap pile, and just to mock it up. So this is what it's gonna end up looking like. Obviously this is gonna be routed a little nicer, but that's for the alternator. That one goes down to the chassis, and this one's gonna go up here to the firewall. So now what we're gonna do is route it as nice as possible, and then see how much we have to chop off, and then put the new copper lug up here. We can bolt that one down. Now we're going to measure the braided sleeve and cut it down so that we could put our heat shrinks on there. I'm gonna use the sky high, oh actually this one, the black one. So this is what the first ground is looking like. I'm gonna throw it on here. So we put the bolt through for the body, the firewall ground, which is this first one like I had said. Now we're gonna work on this one, the one right next to it, so that we could route it, follow that down to this split loom right here. We opened it up and it has the chassis ground, the starter power cable, and the signal wire. So the chassis ground goes to this bolt right here, but you can see it's not even on the actual chassis, it's on the bracket. So we're gonna remove that and put the 0 gauge straight to the chassis. And then I think for the power and all that, we might just leave it like that. Hopefully we're able to pull it up a little bit more. But so our next ground is gonna be here on the chassis. We're gonna route the 0 gauge up here. We'll probably end up deleting this ground just so we could get one out of the the split loom, and delete it from up there as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it from here. Let me see. I have to remove this first. We got our ground run done. We had to bend that a little bit because we're gonna come in through this side, and you can see the chassis has like a little angle right there. So we're gonna try to drop the cable through here, and we're gonna clean all this up obviously, but not right now. We're trying to remove the factory ground, which we kind of pulled out halfway. This kind of tore up, but we want to remove it completely because we're going to do a 0 gauge run to this like I told you, and a 0 gauge to the engine block, so that's not going to be needed. And we kind of just don't want to have it in the split loom because then it would be sticking up out there in the engine bay. So we're going to go down here under the truck and cut it up. So this is where the ground goes. So from the battery it goes to this, then you can see it comes back out and it goes to the frame. So we're going to completely eliminate this. We're going to remove the bolt that's holding it onto the starter, so we can remove this cable. But we're going to chop it up first, pull the cables out, and then remove that. scrape off some of the dirt. And use our little ground wire brush that we made. Cleans it up nicely. Now we're gonna bolt everything down. We got the ground to the chassis ran and bolted down. All we gotta do is spray some clear coat just so that the exposed bare metal won't get rusted. We bent this lug nut, or I mean sorry, this copper lug a bit more just for clearance. Now we have to run one to the engine block. So I'm about to do the next connection for the battery, and then I'll look for a spot on the engine, a good spot where I could bolt down the copper lug, so we could do our, what is it, our third connection. This is gonna go pretty quick. Should be enough for the engine bay. I don't know if we're gonna have enough for the power run to the secondary battery. It's kind of tight in here, so I'll keep looking, but first I obviously have to do the first connection so I can drop the cable down. Okay, so I was under the truck and I seen this hole right here. It's on the engine block. It's an empty threaded hole. I think, oh yeah, it goes all the way through. So we're going to run our engine block ground right there. I thought this one was threaded, but I really doubted the one right here on the side. So we're just gonna go ahead and use this. Just wanted to show you guys before we actually start fishing the cable through here. And I think that's pretty good. The other one was here on this, but it goes through the starter and then through the transmission and connects obviously to the block, I guess, from right here, but we wanted it straight to the engine block. So we're gonna go ahead and use that hole right there, and I'm gonna fish the cable through here just so we could get a decent length where it's not too sloppy or super tight. We want to make sure we have enough room for the copper lug and everything else. So we hit that with the wire wheel and we sprayed one coat of clear coat so far. We also hit this with the clear coat. We zip tied everything already. Everything is back in place. There's a little zip tie right here that goes to the inner fender wheel. That's back into its spot. And we ended up going with this bolt right here because we couldn't find the thread pitch for the side posting, and also this cable was gonna be super twisted, so it actually fit pretty good as is right now. So we ended up going with that right there, and we also hit it with a little bit of clear coat. There's enough oil on this, so I don't think it's gonna rust. We hit that with the wire wheel as well. Every single spot that is gonna be ground, we hit with the wire wheel. So I think this doesn't look too bad. This, I would like for this cable to be a little tighter, but it had to go out here because of the way it's on this bolt. We wanted to keep it away from the header. Also, this ground right here, we had a zip tie to the rest of the cables just to keep it away from the ground, from the heat. And we're actually gonna put some split loom on that, just a little piece, just to keep it a little more protected from the headers. I just gotta find it. We're done with the grounds for now. We still do need the ground from battery to alternator, but we're gonna figure that out in a bit. What we're gonna work on now is the positive side. So these are the factory positive runs. We're still gonna keep them. We're just gonna cut this off, and then hopefully one of these copper lugs fits on there nicely, and we'll crimp it, put some heat shrink, and connect it to the battery. I need to take this off and put the battery tied down in for now, but I don't know if any of these are gonna actually fit on there. Let me cut it up, clean up the insulation, or cut off the insulation, and put the copper lug, and then we'll see if it fits, if it works. Got the power on, and we actually used the 2-gauge welding wire copper lug with the 3/8 hole, and that fit both cables on there. So now we're gonna turn it on just to make sure it still turns on, and then we'll continue. It's been a couple of days now, and we finally got this in the mail. So we got this from Amazon. It's the power distribution block for the alternator. That way we can run 2 0-gauge runs off of the alternator. They sent you this paper. This is from Autotech. They have a 200 amp alternator now. So it says it's a 128 output rating at 650 RPM. I guess that's at idle. And then 205 at 1800 RPMs. And this is the alternator. We're also running Autotech on the little Toyota right here. That's the only company that seems to be making these alternators, small case high output alternators for these trucks. So we're about to pull off the alternator from the Lightning. Seems to be like a factory unit. The only thing I'm seeing right now is that this plastic is not going to let this sit completely on there, and also if it goes lower, it might be a little too close to the housing. So we're gonna have to figure this out right now. But I'm thinking we're gonna have to chop off one of these plastic pieces right here. So we have to get to the alternator under the blower, and seems like this intake tube has to come off. This hose has to come off. I was gonna take it off from here, but it has a zip tie, so I don't want to mess with that right now. We're gonna start off by removing this reservoir right here with the 8mm. We're gonna try to set it here aside, and actually before we even do that, we're gonna disconnect the power side of the battery. Trying to put the bolt back in so we won't lose it, and we're gonna tuck that. Oh, we lost that. Tuck this to the side a little bit just so it won't come in contact with the positive. And this is an 8mm. Goes off out of the fan shroud. Then I don't know if we could kind of set it aside a little higher than what it is right now, because we have to get to a couple of bolts down here. And put this bolt back in here and then try to pull this out of the way. We're not able to move this out of the way much, so we're gonna get to this tensioner and release the serpentine belt from the supercharger. So you can see it goes over the, or under the harmonic balancer, up through the supercharger, then back under this pulley and over to the tensioner. And now with the belt out of the way, we're just gonna let it hang a little bit right there, just out of the way. We have to get to 3 10mm bolts on the tensioner. So one of the bolts got stripped, it didn't want to come off, so we're gonna have to do what we do, weld the nut on that, try to back it off. Took a 19mm nut and a whole lot of welding because we couldn't get it off with the first nut, so we had to get another one, and it finally broke it loose. Now we gotta back it off all the way. These 10 millimeters were on there super tight. I don't know if they have some thread lock or they were just seizing up to the bracket. But we're gonna have to find another 10 millimeter bolt to replace that one. So we're about to pull off this intake tube, but there's a 13 millimeter right there holding onto this bracket. Then there's another 13 right here, and there's a 10 down here. Can't really see it. And I'll let you guys know if there's any other bolts or nuts for this bracket to come off. So here on the right side, there's another 13 millimeter right there. So it's a 10 millimeter bolt, 13 millimeter nut, 13 millimeter nut, and 13 millimeter nut. You can see the studs right here, and then the 10 right there. Now we have to get to this tensioner right there to remove the belt from this alternator. And we're gonna remove this hose for now, just to get it out of the way. We also have to see how much room we have under this for the distribution block. These are 8 millimeters, I believe, which we have to get to. And there's some 10s right here, and this is probably where we're gonna run our grounds, unless we run them up here on these bolts, these little bolts right here. But I'm not sure yet. We gotta see what's our best option. We got down to the alternator, two 10 millimeter bolts, the mounting bolts right here. There's one on each side, and we could tell that there's very little space up here. I don't know if we're gonna be able to mount the distribution block. We're gonna give it a try. But first, we're gonna remove this, and it's just the power cable going to the alternator and this harness plug. So I'm gonna have to slide it off, disconnect both, and then install a new one. So this is the side-by-side comparison. The new alternator has a smaller pulley. They're both the same pretty much. The plug has the 3-pin plug, and obviously this one looks way newer. Pretty much all the same though, except for the pulley and I guess the internals. See the back. Pretty much the same design. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount this on here. Looks like it's gonna hit. Then I'll put you guys back on. I'm gonna cut this little, I don't know if you guys can see that little edge right there. I'm gonna cut it on this side, so the distribution block could sit all the way down here. We cut both sides of the connector piece, the little plastic, and we were able to mount this distribution block, but you can see it's super close to the case. So we're gonna mock it up right now, throw it on there, and see if we have enough space under the supercharger for these bolts and stuff. We're gonna run them down. Right now they're gonna touch the case, but we're gonna pretend that the copper lug is in there. Obviously we're gonna cut them down a little bit because we don't want the power hitting the case, and we're gonna see if we have space for both cables to come out from there. So we're really tight under the supercharger. It's not touching at all, but it's really tight down there. But we'll be fine. The only thing is that we're gonna have the copper lug, instead of being the right way like that, we're gonna flip it upside down so that it could be like this. Probably gonna bend it a little bit, give it a little angle just to get it off of the supercharger a little more. And then that's gonna be one run out. This one should be okay like that, but obviously we're gonna run it like that just so it could look a lot nicer. Like that. And that's gonna be for the front battery. And then our grounds, we're going to most likely run them off of this, because I think it's gonna be a little too tight to have a run from here. Or we might be able to get one run from here to the front battery. And then I don't know what else we're gonna ground to. We need any more grounds, we're gonna ground from this top bolt right here down to the frame. So for now, I'm gonna cut down those bolts a little bit and start working on the cables for the fitment. I'm not sure if we're gonna need a smaller belt. We might need a smaller belt. We also have to run this power onto one of the bolts. You don't have to, but we are. 'Cause this goes to copper lugs as well, but this one goes to the stock location. But since we don't have that, we're gonna just bolt it up to one of the bolts right here. The plug goes right in, so that's good. So let me get that ready for final installation, and then I'll put you guys back on. So an issue we were having was that there wasn't enough threads for this to grab on. So we had to drill this out, make it a little deeper. We're gonna use this washer to center the... Oh, we have to drill out just the center, huh? To center the stud. And then so that this could be all the way on there. Like that. A penny also works, but we have to grind down the edges of the penny and then drill a hole right in the center. We're probably gonna just use this. And we're also gonna clean this. We're gonna wire wheel that and the front and back of the alternator legs right here. I did this side already. See, it's a little shinier right there than the rest of the alternator. See the difference? So the other flu's working on a washer for the distribution block to center the stud. We don't want it moving around and then for this to back off. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna use this as the ground. This is what he had made for the power, but I'm gonna use it as a ground. We'll put it here, and then we're gonna run it to this right here. It's gonna go like that. Hopefully it's able to reach. I think it should. Yeah, I think it should be good. Worst case, what I'm gonna do is hammer this down right now, because I still have to put the sleeve and put a new heat shrink on it. This side is gonna have a sky high heat shrink, and this side is gonna have a marine heat shrink with. So this bracket goes over the alternator. This side holds on to this plug right here. Right there, and then this side, it bolts up to the lower intake manifold, and this side goes to the alternator. And this little thing right here holds the radiator hose from coming forward. So what we're gonna do, since we don't have any space under the distribution block, we're gonna cut this bracket right here and right here. And we're gonna bolt this up to the alternator and this side to the alternator. Basically how it goes, except with this center piece in it, or on it. And actually this side might not even need to go back on, but we're just gonna put it back on so we could oh, it also holds that bolt right here, I guess, whatever this was. And we're not going to use this as a ground. We're going to have to make a new one. This is going to be a power run because it's too tight. We were going to do the first ground to this bolt, but it was going to be too close to the serpentine belt. And then we were going to try to fit it behind the alternator, but that wasn't going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to bolt it up to this hole right here, right on top. We're just going to hit that with the wire wheel, and we're going to put the bracket back on. So the copper lug is gonna go on that, and then the bracket over it. And then we have to look for a washer to even out the bracket up top. And then we also drilled out this to be able to bolt it up to that. And then the plug oh, it's gonna go back on the alternator. We're having one more issue right here. Well, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see it, but right there under the supercharger, I think the distribution block is coming in contact with the supercharger. And also this power cable had to be added to this power run. We wanted it on the inside just to make it look neater, but we had to use this one because it was too close to the supercharger. And then yeah, we had to take it back off, grind off that corner a little bit, took it clear just to be safe. That means that the whole alternator has to come off. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm talking about right there, but right there, like on the top side of that. Yeah, that whole corner.
What corner?
So this whole corner right here, like good chunk has to come off.
¿Sale así?
Yeah, hasta ahí está marcado, ¿no? ¿O no? I don't even know
Like
if it was touching with, but just to be safe. Yeah, like I think.
So you want me to do this whole corner or the whole side?
Así. Métele esa más de lado. We just got the fuse holder in, but the problem is that we're not gonna be able to fit it where we want it to fit. Right here. It's gonna be too tight. And then gonna be sitting on the AC line. So we're thinking of possibly putting it right here. The only thing is the way the cables are gonna be ran out. That's gonna be our only problem. So we would have to remove this plug and make a little aluminum bracket so we could bolt it onto that metal piece. Once we figure out where exactly we're gonna put it, we'll put you guys on. Just show you how we're gonna make the aluminum bracket.
Put it sideways?
Oh. Yeah, look, an inch and a half.
An inch.
Let's do an inch. So that's the idea we came up with. It's just a bracket that's gonna cover this whole thing, and we're not gonna use this plastic cup anymore. Cover, I mean. That's how it's gonna look. We had to make it that wide in order to fit the fuse holder. I'm just gonna use the same screw that was holding that plastic trim up there, and we're gonna put 2 more down here to hold on to the metal bracket. Alright, so we drove a couple of miles and the voltage is at 14.6. It hasn't dropped at all, and obviously no beat, but it's been sitting at 14.6. and before this upgrade and all, the wire and the alternator, it was dropping to like the low 13s, I think. I'm gonna show you guys the engine bay. It's looking pretty clean. A new paint job and all. Go ahead and pop the hood for you guys. So this is what the engine bay is looking like. We got the 2 power runs from the alternator. One goes up to the fuse holder, the other one goes up to the battery, and then back from the battery up to the fuse holder, which is going to connect both batteries front and rear. And then the alternator run to the fuse holder is going to charge the rear battery. We got all our grounds. One ground goes to the alternator right on top. We ended up bolting it to that bolt up there. One goes to the chassis, the other one goes to the engine block, and the other one goes to the body back there. And for the positive runs, like I said, one goes to the alternator, the other one goes to the A&L fuse holder, and then this is the stock factory power cables. That's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below, or you guys could also contact us at Yonke_OXC Films on Instagram. I'll leave that in the description down below, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.